Welcome to the final round and award ceremony of the 2008 First Robotics competition season.
The George Mason High School robotics team is headed to Atlanta for a national competition next week after beating dozens of other teams to take first place at the Chesapeake First Regional last month. Joining me now live here in the studio with more on the competition is Will Walton, a member of the George Mason robotics team. And Will, thanks for being here and congratulations.
Thank you.
First of all, explain what your team had to do for those of us who are technologically challenged.
Well, we had to design and build a robot that played a game that the competition assigned us to do. This year's game was basically to drive around a big track and manipulate what are basically giant yoga balls around this track. They're about a yard and a half in diameter, and we had to be able to get those around the track as many times as we could and get them over a 6-foot overpass to score.
And so how long did it take you to build the robot and program it to do all these different things?
Well, we only have 6 weeks to design and build this robot. They give us the game in the first weekend in January, and then from there we have 6 weeks before we have to have it ready to ship off, put it in the crate, and then just hope it's ready for competition.
You also had to work with other schools and form alliances. How did that work?
Well, our robot was pretty well designed to work in a team. We were able to feed the ball around to people who could score more than we can, and we didn't mind doing that if it helped us win. So that helped us out a lot.
What about the national competition in Atlanta? That's next week. Tell us about that and how tough's that going to be?
Yeah, we're heading down next Thursday, and I really don't know how tough that's going to be. We weren't quite sure how tough the regional was going to be, but we ended up doing pretty well there. So, I mean, we know we're going to be facing some tougher competition, and not only that, but there's going to be a lot more teams. So.
And just to go back to the competition that you won, as I understand it, you weren't really picked to win, so you pulled off a bit of an upset.
Well, we certainly didn't pick ourselves to win going in, and then once we made it to the elimination tournament, where the top 8 teams basically act as captains and pick alliances, we were the 8th-seeded alliance, so we had to start out playing the top-seeded alliance to make it past, and we ended up winning from the bottom seed. So.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's great work. Now, tell me, what are you doing now to prepare for the competition in Atlanta? Are you still an 8th seed, or will you be seeded higher because you're coming in as the champs?
Well, the way it works is basically the first day and a half is going to be matches to give us a seed, and it was the same way in Annapolis. And so we're going to go there and do as well as we can Friday, and hopefully end up seeded pretty well. And yeah, we're hoping we do well.
And do you know how many teams you'll actually be competing against, since it's a nationwide competition in Atlanta?
I know last year there were close to 300 teams, and I think it'll be about the same this year as compared to about 60 at Annapolis. So.
All right, Will Walton, member of the champion George Mason High School robotics team. Good luck, and do well next week.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here.
Let's do it.
All right, our teams have cleared the field. We'll randomize the position of those track balls, and we've got at least 2 more matches of first overdrive to play. Right here, 3 teams that will be playing in all of the matches. We've got team number 11.
It's the Mount Olive Robotics team.
And leading this number 8 alliance all the way to the finals, it's team 1418.
Bay Victor.
And the 3rd member of this powerful alliance is none other than team 2016.
Mighty Monkey Wrenches.
But then again, over here, there are 3 very tough teams, and they are looking for a championship here in Annapolis, Maryland. The 3 members of your number 3 seeded alliance are right here in front of me, and they start with Team 888.
The Robotics!
And continuing our string of 8s, we've got Team 88.
TJ Squared!
And the captain of this strong alliance is Team 1111.
Right here, they're the powerhouse.
All right, blue teams, are you ready to start the finals? Congratulations on making it this far. Red teams, are you ready to start the finals? Good job on making it to this point. Annapolis, are you ready to start the finals? We begin in 3, 2, 1, go!
It's the finals. Here come the robots in the hybrid period. I can feel the intensity building. With 4 seconds left, Mort trying to make an attempt to go past. Drivers now taking control in the teleoperated period. 2 matches will determine who wins. Off goes that red track ball by 14-18. Here comes the speed machine, 12-16. Whipping around the track all day. 2 robots have possession of track balls. 1 is red, 1 is blue. Both going up, approaching their overpass. Simultaneous hurdles, baby. 8 points all around. So far, it's anyone's game. Mort already holding on to that red track ball, moving it up, moving it down, getting it done, hurdling for 8. Only 4 points separate the 2. Robot to robot interaction. There goes TJ. Here comes Mort. These hurdling machines, they've been doing it all day. Showing them what they're made of. Teams from all over bringing their creations. 2016, you drawing inspiration. Watching those NASCAR drivers, they're making their waves, crossing that line faster and faster every single time we see them. There's Mort trying to hurdle. Can they do it? Almost slipping out. We've got 5, 4, 3, it's 6, 2, 1. This place is crazy.
There were no penalties on either alliance.
And that means finals 1, 70-54. Red Alliance with the advantage.
Well, I was our lead driver. Basically, I operated the arms, basically the driving, the wheels, and my cohort was Zach. He got the mass under control.
So I was the safety captain. Actually, I was the safety captain. I made sure everything was staffed. As far as pneumatic operation and overall robot handling. How about you, Zach?
Oh, I was the other driver on the team. I operated the mast on the robot, which we used to knock down the balls off the overpass. And, I didn't have to be working all the time like Ben was. I still did a lot of work along with just yelling basically the whole time, telling him, there's a ball over there, look out for that teammate, okay, and the score is this or this.
Those 2 who went before us, you can just cut them out. Really important people. We had all the legitimate things to say, things that should be on TV.
The safety captain.
Yeah, I was there, but, clearly Ben and Zach had the harder job. My job was to basically keep track of what was going on other places on the field, because they had to be so focused on our robot that they couldn't take the time to look around and keep track of the score. And, I mean, all the other stuff that you do need to know to play this game. But they had to make sure that the robot was still driving in a straight line and that we were scoring regularly. So I was down there helping them out.
Working as a team with our successful alliance at regionals was a lot of fun. I mean, we did get to know the teams a little bit more in depth, and I mean, looking at our reaction from the once we saw the score from the final match, I mean, we were just hugging each other like crazy. I mean, it was just like, oh my God, we won.
The feeling of working well together, not only at regionals, in the finals like Ben was talking about, but there was one particular match in Atlanta where from the very beginning, one of the robots on our team was disabled and they couldn't move, and I don't know what went wrong with them, but they were out for the entire match. And between us and this other robot, I mean, we were doing our basic strategy from Annapolis, where we would herd the balls around and they would get them over. And with just 2 robots, we scored, what, I think almost 80 points. Yeah. And we won that match with just 2 robots. And the feeling of not just, hey, we just won, but we were an integral part of a winning team, and without us, this wouldn't have happened. And the feeling of being able to work together successfully with another team, I think that was the best feeling.
Yeah, it really worked well, because I remember after that match, the lead driver from that team was like, hey guys, remember us when either of us gets to the finals, because we want to make an alliance out of that, because we realized that we two could work really well together and that we should be a pair because we just had that teamwork going on.
Sadly, neither of us was in the top 8 or got selected to the tournament, so yeah. Nothing came of that. But that kind of feeling where you realize that what you've done is appreciated by someone else because it works well. I mean, I think that was a great feeling.
So I've learned a lot about teamwork from this game. I mean, it's got a very competitive feel to it, in the fact that, I mean, you are playing against another opposing team, but the ability to form alliances so quickly and talk strategy, sort out, who's going to do what, how you guys are going to work together. I mean, just on the spontaneity of it all is just, it teaches a lot.
All right, the trackball randomizer has done its work. We're ready for our second match in the finals. Who thinks it's going to be the Blue Alliance that wins? Who thinks it's going to be the Red Alliance that wins? The Blue Alliance! The Red Alliance! Let's find out. We begin in 3, 2, 1, go!
Hybrid mode. Robots are driving. They've been practicing this for all weekend long. It's time. Welcome to the jungle, baby. This is finals. This is what it's all about. Vivictus removing that red trackball from the top. Their partner, Mort, doing the same. Ready up. Here's TJ Squared trying to do the same with their trackball. Mort going for the hurdle. Can't get through because TJ was there. Placing it ball. Now it's off. 8 points away. Teammate 88 lining up, removing that blue trackball. TJ knocking it down. Red penalty flag in the air. Team 11 cranking it up. Off with that red trackball down in their zone. Here, dropping it at the last second. Unable to connect. Going back for that other trackball. Teammate 88 making their way into the blue home zone. Popping it over. Making a dent for the Blue Alliance. Team 14-18. Quick strategy. Looks like they're trying to put it in the corner, feeding balls to their partner, Mort, that hurtling machine. 2016, scaring me off as Mort goes up to place. 20 seconds remain in the finals. This could be it. This is what it's all about. Let's make some noise. Get on your feet. We got 10 seconds left. TJ, trying to remove that ball with 3, 2, 1. Do you guys want to know the score? Congratulations to your Chesapeake Regional winners, teams number 11, 2016 and 14-18.
All right, what an experience.
Guys, let's get out. Come on. We won. All right, thanks. We did it. We did it.
We won. We did it. That's all I can say. We won.
All right. Pretty good.
God, my boys are...
I like the challenge. I mean, I worked a lot on the chassis and trying to get the arms to fit inside the box. And I know we tried so many permutations of getting those arms to be level, straight, go down, up and down at the same time. We put a crossbar in the middle. We tried pretty much to do everything to make them simultaneous and to fit inside the 28 by 38 limit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part was actually learning about the I guess, new technology. I mean, stuff that I didn't know about. Because this year, I worked a lot on the pneumatic system that we had to manipulate our arms. And coming into this year, I knew there was air in it, but other than that, I knew next to nothing about the actual wiring of a pneumatic system and the safety checks that the first competition requires. And so, I mean, I spent, I guess, a day or two just studying the old robots, and we have just this test pneumatics board that I looked at for a while, just to make sure I understood how it worked. And when I finished and had, a working pneumatic system on the robot, granted, I didn't do it by myself, but when that was finished, the realization that I had just taken what I'd learned and put it into use and made it a useful and important part of the robot, that was my favorite part of it.
I must say it worked pretty well, Will.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
The game next year is going to be completely different, but I think a lot of the experience we gained and the knowledge we gained about the kits that we get and just different ways we can manipulate stuff, I think that was probably the most valuable thing that came out of this year.
There is a lot of dangerous equipment that is put into, or that is used to build a robot. There are bandsaws, there are grinders, there are drills, which, there are some people who don't know how to operate a drill. And, there are a lot of dangerous machines. And then while you're at the regionals, there are a lot of people moving around.
We're just tightening this bolts to make sure none of them are loose.
Replace the battery every time.
There are a lot of rules and regulations that you need to follow as far as, you're using batteries just in case one of them leaks. You need to know what to do. You also have first aid. You're using files and things, and you try to minimize the amount of the number of sharp edges on your robot. But there are accidents, of course, and you may cut yourself, or you may cut yourself on someone else's robot. and you need to know how to take care of those sort of things.
The biggest thing we learned was how you can take just a normal kit that everyone gets, and you can build a robot like ours, which was pretty good and did what it did well. But with the proper ingenuity and engineering, you can turn that kit of parts into something amazing.
I know 2 people on the team who've never been on a plane before, and that must have been a real experience being on a plane just for an hour and a half. But it must have been really amazing. Once you're at the competition, it's a fantastic experience, especially nationals. There are a lot of really spirited teams there, all wearing matching shirts and dancing to the crazy music that they played. But I think a couple people, especially Mr. Lotz, was singing the YMCA, and my dad and I were dancing to whatever song.
You do stick together. You do make great friendships and lasting bonds in the team.
That's the things that people don't know about the team. Generally, when people think about robotics, they think, well, what are we going to do, sitting at a computer screen programming the whole time? Or, it's a lot more fun than what people expect it to be. What?
That was fun? Okay. Well, my favorite part would have to be the learning. I know that sounds dorky, but yeah, I'm on a robotics team, so what do you expect? Because there are a lot of opportunities to learn about anything. The pneumatics that Will was talking about earlier, they're just a way to have a lot of power in a little tiny space, and you can power, arms, you can power wheels. Well, the motors that Taylor was working on, they were, I didn't know anything about them until now, and now I know how to get a robot to move around in circles really fast. It's a lot of fun in its own way because, we're not just learning in a school environment where you're having a teacher tell you what you're going to do. You're learning what you want to learn, and you get to determine your own level of commitment. And if you want to learn about wheels, you're going to learn about wheels, and you can have a lot of fun doing so. And that's what I thought was the best part about it. But, there are a lot of different aspects to this competition, so you'll find whatever you want to get out of it.
Everyone on the team put an enormous amount of time into this competition. Not only that amount of time, but over the weekends during build season, and every day after school we were here 2 to 3 hours. Every weekend we were here 4 to 5 hours a day. Just the amount of time that goes into this. I certainly won't miss it for a little while, but I think come next January I'll be ready to do it again. If you ask some of the founders of FIRST, the ideas or the ideals that are passed on of always learning and always striving to better yourself, and their ideas of gracious professionalism can be applied to everyday life all the time. Some of the teams you hear about are working 24/7, 365 days a year to not only further their team, but to start new teams, to start Lego League teams, and just to further the FIRST competition as a whole.
Teenagers to finally actually get something to do with math other than, look, here's an abstract equation, do it. It's something that actually applies in the real world, and you will be using it later, so.
Introducing the Blue Lions T486 Robotic Panthers. T1418 May Mitchell. T1386 Robots from Timothy Senior High School. All right, looks like good to go. 3, 2, 1, go, go, go. It on it goes. Here on the tee. Crossing the line. Bringing down that red track ball. 231 voltage. Machine at 1380. 86 colliding on the way around the track. 486, those Positronic Panthers. Gritting their teeth, removing that blue sack ball. Here comes Burr. One of your Chairman's Award-winning teams competing here for the prestigious award this weekend. Tell them they know how to build those robots also. High voltage pushing on over for red as the Panthers do the same to blue. be playing a little bit of defense on that blue track ball. They know that if they start with a team, they won't be able to hurdle. Offensive line Panther. 20 seconds remaining. Still on front. Scores are very, very close. It could all come down to it. These last 2 seconds. Can the Panthers place? 3, 2, 1. That's it. Time is over. And we have the results. 74-56, Red Alliance getting it happen.
Yeah, I think Atlanta was it was certainly a much different experience. Like Ben said, the distances involved. I mean, in Chesapeake, it was a 30-second walk from pit to field, and versus the 5, 6, 7-minute walk in Atlanta. And just the size of everything there was sort of daunting almost, because we had to, we were scouting 90 teams in our division alone, and there were 3 other divisions of about equal sizes. And just like the size, walking into the Georgia Dome and seeing these 6 enormous fields set up with plenty of room, around them and stuff for people to get around, and looking up into the stands and seeing just an enormous amount of people in these stands. It was, even though it was the same game, it felt a lot different because just of the sheer size and the scale that this competition was on.
Yeah, especially the play style was very different. There was a lot more defense played, and the teams were much more aggressive, and it wasn't as much about like being able to have our old strategy, which was teamwork, drop the ball off for our teammates who could score more than us. It was you're pretty much on your own, and if you cannot score basically over 100, you're not going to guarantee victory in every match. And getting a score of 70 was great in Annapolis.
Yeah, and this sort of went against how we had been playing, because we had been a very teamwork-oriented team, and while we couldn't score that much on our own, we could certainly facilitate the scoring of other robots by setting balls up for them. And the defensive game in Atlanta sort of played to our advantage because we had practice in Chesapeake playing defense. But, just the caliber of the other robots changed a lot. Each individual robot could do a lot more in Atlanta as opposed to Chesapeake. And I don't think any of us were quite expecting it to be quite as high scoring as it was, even with all the defense that was getting played. Yeah. All the games were consistently scoring higher than even the finals at Chesapeake. And that was with the aggressive defense and the strong play, like Ben had already said. So,
yeah, we weren't expecting like every team to be able to hurdle at Atlanta. And basically, if you could hurdle at Annapolis, you were guaranteed a spot in the final playoffs.
The 2 main aspects are how the team approached the problem as far as building the robot, and how the team acts at the competition. Those are the really memorable parts. I was walking around occasionally during the Nationals, especially, looking at how some of these teams approach the problems, and the vastness of the very different methods that these teams took in order to get to the Nationals. It was just amazing. Some teams had used DeWalt drills to power their robots, and just strange motor configurations. And what I liked, they took advantage of transmissions, which we didn't do so much this year, and I think we should definitely do that next year. As far as spirit and how the teams acted at the competitions, there were teams all over the place. The Chairman's Award, which is given out by First, epitomizes the not only the building of the robot, but how the teams act in their community and at the regionals. It was just great.
Yeah, Taylor talked about the Chairman's Award, which is a pretty interesting thing because they showed a last year's team that won the Chairman Award. They basically are a conglomerate of about like 16 different high schools, and they're supported by BAE Systems and NASA, and it's amazing the different things that they can do. And to their community, they were able to, besides just building this great robot to win a big competition, they well, what did they do? I don't remember. They did a lot of stuff.
Last year's the Miracle Workers, but they won Chairman's Award last year, and they did an unbelievable amount of charity work. They had their own. They organized their own blood drive. They went to local libraries and brought their robot along and read to the children at the library. And I guess they must have talked about the robot. I don't remember. I mean, then again, these schools are bigger. I mean, they are considerably bigger. I think, was it the Miracle Workers that they did consist of 16 different high schools? I think that was the team. I mean, these schools are huge. They have a lot of money that they can spend, and they have a lot of team members that they can use to, that the leaders of the team can delegate, who's going to start this blood drive, who's going to spread the word to this school to start a new team. I mean, that's unfortunately something that we're not capable of doing right now. But, that's something that we definitely want to pursue. Right?
I mean, some of these robots could do things that we hadn't even thought any robot would be able to do. I mean, for example, in autonomous, we were happy hitting our 3 lines with just with just the code we had in it. We could get 3 lines or 4 lines in autonomous. And in the regionals, that was great. There was, I think, one other team that could keep up with us.
Yeah.
Our next match is looking pretty good. Our team's looking pretty strong. The other team's not looking that great, honestly. So, I mean, hopefully we do well and we keep doing well later.
But when we got to the national edition, I mean, there was a robot that could make almost a lap and a half and knock off both the balls, something that we hadn't even dreamed of. Yeah, that was way past our idea of what the autonomous was going to be.
I'd like to see us win. That'd be good.
I think this year our team was bigger than it has been in the past. In the past, it's been a much smaller, more focused group. And I think this year we branched out more, and I think we got more of the publicity at the competitions and outside the competitions. Because, I mean, we had buttons to hand out and a lot of the things that other teams do regularly. I think we finally got more serious about this year, which, I think it gets our name out there. And that the competition isn't just how well your robot does. The competition is whether you're a memorable team that will stick in people's minds when it comes to choosing teams for the competition. And I think that if you look at the finals in Atlanta, a lot of the teams that were picked were much older teams that other teams recognized. And I think the closer we can get to that, the better off we'll be in the future. So I hope we can achieve something like that. I don't know about other schools, but in our school, I think the robotics team is still seen as sort of a fringe activity. And that, everyone's happy for us when we win. But everyone sees it as something, I'm no good at math, I'm no good at building things, I wouldn't be able to do that. And I think that's the biggest misconception about this team and this competition as a whole. Go ahead.
Well, this year I've actually been congratulated by people in the halls. So we have been getting more publicity in our schools. It's hard to say us like a sport, which is always good. So we are getting out there. We are getting the word out.
But then you say something about how they should join next year, how they should encourage people to come out. And, it's always just sort of seen as a bit of a, it would be cool, but I don't know anything about it. And it's impossible to learn. And I think the name robotics gives it sort of an aura of just
mysteriousness.
Yeah, just stuff that you can't learn unless you devote all your time to it. And for some teams, I think that's true, but for ours, right now, it just isn't.
Team 14-18, Vay Victus from Falls Church, Virginia. 358, the Robotic Eagles. Team 178, they're the second law enforcers. And team 1511, they're Rolling Thunder. Mohai, Shazbot. All right. 3, 2, 1, go, go, go! Teams perfecting their hybrid mode. Moving around the track. Trying to crank up the point. One blue track ball, one red track ball, both hit the ground. That'll be 8 points for each because of the removal of that track ball. Moving around the track, here comes Rolling Thunder. That machine from Rochester, New York, putting up that blue track ball. That's another New York team. The Eagles throwing it down. Getting it done for Red. 8 more points added to their alliance's score. At 16-11, picks up that blue track ball, making their long trip around the field. The Eagles already have another track ball in their draft. 3-2-6, that amazing shooting machine. Trying to get set up with that red track ball so they can add a couple points to their alliance's score. 178 machine. Also trying to get stuff done once they cross that line. They're trying to make it difficult for 358 to get over to that red side of the field. A little bit defensive strategy as another one goes over from blue and red. 8-point switch for both teams. Seconds remaining in this match. 15-11 going for that plate. The Robotic Eagles knock it off. Quick work. Great maneuvering. And the results are up on the board. Coming out victorious, the Red Alliance.
One thing that we talked about as a team briefly, and I hope we continue it, is starting a Lego League team in the middle school. Because the first Lego League is another competition run by the first organization that is designed for middle school age students, and they use basically Lego Mindstorms and have to carry out a task with them. They work on real world applications of science and technology. Like this year they had to give a presentation, or they had to go analyze and then present on possible energy savings in a building in their community. And I think that really exemplifies what FIRST is supposed to be about, is taking what you learn and applying it to the real world to help people. And especially with energy problems that we have, being able to recognize issues and fix them is, I mean, that's going to be a very important skill in the future. And they're trying to give people ideas about it and train them younger.
First basic goal is just to make an engineer base for the future of our country and of the world.
I think the other thing that was important about this year was that, I mean, a lot of us had been around the program and went to the competition last year, but like I said, hadn't been a central member of the team until this year. And I think that the mentors really helped pass on the experiences that the teams had had in the past, that we either hadn't been there to experience or hadn't experienced quite as firsthand because we weren't entirely sure what was going on, or we were sort of, I mean, I don't want to say on the outside, but we weren't as key to the team. So I think the mentors really help keep some continuity going in the team when a large portion of the team graduates, like happened last year. So I think that was a big thing the mentors did this year that really helped us out as a team and helped us develop and will help us in the future.
I sure learned a lot from Mr. Blue and Mr. Lotz about how to basically manipulate metal to do what I want it to.
Yeah, Taylor really hit the nail on the head. We need more people to help because we had one guy who was specialized for doing the driving this year. Eric, who is unfortunately not able to be here right now. He did a lot. Oh yeah, he did a lot of work on just the transmission of what we want to get this robot moving and get it. What was just a big piece of metal and get this thing going around a big track. We had one programmer who was sitting around with our one mentor on the programming. And they together were able to put together this autonomous code to get this big hunk of metal going around this circle all by itself, almost in a complete lap, and significantly often doing 3 lines of that lap. And if we can have like a team of kids that are designated to do what one kid was doing this year, we can do so much more than what we can do now. And in that regard, we can just teach more kids. So it's not just about winning; it's about teaching the community.
And not only do we need more people, but we need more money. I know that the sponsorship thing was downplayed, but I think it's very important. Our team really needs to expand in order to start our LEGO League or in order to get more people involved. We need to make sure we advertise ourselves increasingly. We did a little bit this year, and we had, our focus on the buttons was a little. We had a little focus. We kind of got it started a day before nationals. That we didn't do that last year at all. We really didn't think about it last year. That's a great improvement. And I think next year, what we really need to do is appeal to universities and appeal to these bigger companies to give us some money or give us some mentors that they don't build us a robot, but increase our knowledge of what we are doing.
We had a big scouting base at Atlanta to do a lot of match and pit scouting. While we didn't have direct access to the match scouting, we could still call them, ask them how teams were doing, how many hurdles they got per match, who we should block, who we should give the balls to, so they could score for our team, basically. And then they also did a lot of button making, a lot of the publicity that the core design team didn't have time to do. So they were a big help in doing the logistical things.
Since this is a competition and everyone's trying to talk up their robot, when you're talking not only to your opponents but also to your alliances, they'll tend to exaggerate what the capabilities of their robot are. So having things that where we keep track of what they can do, it helps remove some of the uncertainty from, talking to teams, picking alliances, and just knowing what they can do for games where we don't get to pick the alliances. And I think that without the manpower to, have a group of people dedicated to simply sitting in the stands, watching matches, keeping track of it, and I'm sure it must have gotten boring for them. They were in those stands for hours a day. An entire day Friday, half a day Saturday, just scouting matches. And as boring as it got, they stayed there, they worked through it, and it ended up being just as important as the people who were on the field driving. This isn't entirely us documenting our experience, but just the documentation of the games leading up to Chesapeake. I think that gave us a really good idea of how this game was actually going to be played. Because at the beginning of the year, they designed the game, they tell you the rules, but no one actually plays until the competition starts. And there's always evolutions of the rules. There's always evolutions of how the game itself is played. There's a set way to score, but what kind of strategies are successful, what kind of teams work well together. And while every robot is different and every regional is different, I still think that being able to see stuff like that going into our regional and then watching our regional and our tapes going into nationals really gives you an edge because you know what to expect, which I think is a very useful part of it really helps us out when we get to the competition.
First had an idea that maybe robots would pass the ball over the lane divider in the middle to their teammates on the other side so that they can get quicker hurdles. But no one ever got to that idea because, it was just crazy to get a 10-pound ball over the center lane divider, and then if you just made one misstep, you'd get a 10-point penalty for stepping back over. So they didn't really know how their game was going to be played, so they just kind of left it out there for everyone to play it.
I hope next year we not only having more experience, but hopefully we'll have more money and more materials to work with so that whatever the problem is next year, we'll be able to face it with more aggressively and we'll be able to make a more complicated robot.
My opinion on the corporate sponsors is that they're a great help to us, and not just the monetary value, but Aurora, we've been going to them for years, and in addition to just giving us the $2,000 for a very nice laptop we have here with us, we also get the opportunity to present to them what we want to do with this money they're about to give us. So we show them, a PowerPoint presentation, or we give them some AutoCAD drawings of what we want to build, and it's real-world experience that's basically invaluable. And then after we do the rather informal presentation, we then would go around to their facility and see how they're building almost what we are, but just on an amazingly larger scale, where they're building one of these planes that can go hundreds of miles an hour and evacuate one guy completely autonomously, just like ours are supposed to be. And that's just so impressive. And if we can get people to see that, and if we can get sponsors like other teams are, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to come out of the basement of what we have at George Mason High School right now. And we can really do something great for this high school, and besides doing the sports teams that we have right now, this would be something interesting we should really look into and get some more sponsors for.
It's kind of like an incentive. If we have all these different opportunities associated with our team, like since we have a sponsorship with Aurora, we go over there. As Zach said, we go and see their facilities. If we had a sponsorship with NASA, we could go over and see their facilities. I know we did that this year. We went over to NASA Goddard and looked around. But what if we had a sponsorship? What if they really, they were interested in our team? What if we got them interested in our team? And by getting them interested in our team, we would get other people who like NASA interested in our team from our school. By appealing to these other corporations that all these other people know, we could establish ourselves as a important organization inside the school.
I think people really underestimate the work that we are able to do with FIRST, because I remember there's one high school that we saw at our regional that had won the nomination for the Chairman's Award, and so that was a big deal. What they had encountered was they were a really urban school from a pretty poor community, and they had gotten a lot of sponsorship. And what was so admirable was that they had a dropout rate of 50% of the students in their school, but the people who were in the robotics team there had a dropout rate of 0%, and everyone went on to go to college later on. And to get kids involved and not just interested in building robots, but interested in learning and interested in becoming parts of society instead of just, oh, I don't like school, I don't like learning. If it's not interesting to you, then look into the robotics, because it's not going to just say, oh, you can learn about wheels and electricity. It's going to give you an opportunity to learn in other ways, and that's what I think FIRST really gives or could give to our school if we simply give them the chance and expand.
Just give a quick thanks to everyone in the community who helped us out. I mean, especially after we won the regional, there was an article about us in the local paper, and from there, people who I'd never met and just families came and gave us large amounts of money to help us fund our trip to Atlanta. The community got behind us, a lot this year, and I think that was it. It certainly helped us get to the competition, and it gave us a good feeling of we're not alone in doing this, that there's other people who want to help us and who think what we're doing is important.